That's so helpful too.
Ready to go? Nikki, we're good?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting for December 2nd, 2025. I will look for a mover and a seconder to open the meeting. Moved by member Mayor Paquette. And seconded by member Foisey. That the meeting be opened at 6:47 p.m. All in favor? That's carried. For the adoption of the agenda, I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by member Paquette, Mayor Paquette. Seconded by Boise. That the agenda presented to the Planning Advisory Committee dated December 2nd, 2025 be adopted as prepared. All in favor? It's carried. Adoption of previous minutes. I'll take a mover and a seconder. Somebody would like. Moved by Boise. Seconded by Mayor Paquette. That the minutes of the Planning Advisory Meeting of September 2nd, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest and all nature thereof? Seeing none, we will move into application/staff reports. So I see we have a few reports from the planning administrator. We'll move to the first one, which is an update on activities of 2025. And I'll ask the planning administrator to walk us through some of the highlights of that report, please.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's been a busy year, and we've had a total of 8 meetings of the Planning Advisory Committee. So there is a report online which summarizes all of these activities. And we've had some, fruitful discussions from that, and it's resulted in significant new lot creation, which we'll come to shortly. In terms of activities, so it's just useful to emphasize to the public, to the committee even, kind of what the role of the planning administrator is and the planning and development department in general. So on a daily basis, we do continue to receive and process a wide range of inquiries, whether that's written or verbal. And it could be anything to do with, whether there's ongoing property sales, or people want questions about what official plan designations or zoning bylaw provisions apply to their property. And sometimes this can come from different angles about the same property. So you might have a realtor calling you up and saying, I'm trying to sell this property and I want to make sure that the listing is correct. There might be the existing owners or family members of them that are preparing to sell the property, which also want to know for their own purposes. Then there's the purchasers. They also want to know kind of what can they actually do if they do proceed to get that property. And then there's the legal representatives representing all of the above, which, we're dotting the I's and T's and really trying to clarify what is possible on that lot. And then we have general inquiries. So this could be anything from, say, ongoing neighbor disputes, clarification of land title matters, broader questions on strategic planning issues. There was a gentleman who came in today who was asking questions about the Ministry of Transportation, and I said, well, we have a committee member and maybe perhaps we can get some more answers at some stage about what is going to transpire into the future. We also we have regional meetings that we attend, forums, various consultations, and as we know, there's been a lot of changes taking place in the planning system, which have required us to stay on top of what's happening. We then have the planning applications, so that goes all the way through from plans of subdivision to consent applications, official plan zoning bylaw amendments, minor variances, and relatively new provisions, if you like, form of deeming bylaws and cancellation certificates, which allow property owners to remove some of the red tape that was existed prior to those amendments. Land purchase applications. So sometimes properties, with the shore road allowance or a road allowance adjoining somebody's property, but it's surplus to municipal requirements. There might be kind of an evaluation there of how would that relate to different land uses, and then those applications would come forth to council with a recommendation for whether we should dispose of portions of land. And then, of course, when it gets to the building level, land's already been assembled. We have my colleague, the chief building official, who will evaluate from his own means the building permits, but that also requires me to do that final assessment and just make sure that whatever building structures, uses are being proposed on the lot do adhere to whatever setbacks. And if they don't, then obviously that triggers the need for, say, something like a minor variance or something to make sure that that development is legally compliant. So these activities can be a mix of, they could be complex, they can require significant amounts of research, looking back through files, planning history, a lot of dusty files in my office going back 40, 50 years that sometimes require, trawling through. Also the intensity of what that, like if there's a bidding war taking place on a property and everybody needs answers all at the same time, we have to make sure that we're being consistent and fair in the advice that we give. So that's how the development side works. Broader kind of long-range planning matters, which I believe is next on the agenda that we'll talk about. But for a while, we've been looking at a review of our official plan and zoning bylaw and trying to make sure that all of the policies are robust.
Can I ask a question while you're on that,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
When the official plan, and this is my question, when the official plan hasn't been approved yet,
Yeah.
and we have all the bylaws in place, how do we enforce those bylaws when our official plan hasn't been approved?
Well, we have the existing zoning bylaw, which has had some housekeeping amendments to it, and obviously we can still make housekeeping amendments. So on the basis of the existing zoning bylaw as it exists, we enforce those provisions. Now, when the official plan, the new official plan comes to be in whatever form that is, then we have to make sure that that new zoning bylaw is consistent with the official plan. Which we've already kind of been making step changes towards getting there in a sense, because we know, given the feedback we've received from various stakeholders, different government agencies, the Conservation Authority being one, but others, what their policy direction is.
So we have our bylaws are in compliance with the official plan when we develop them, is what you're saying. So if the official plan comes back amended by the province,
Which you will.
then what happens to our bylaws?
That's a very good question. I mean, it still stands. There was obviously the PPS, the provincial planning statement, kind of, there is a clause within that says that, we have all planning decision making needs to be consistent with that. But at that zoning bylaw level, it would be subject, it would be depend on the site, the specifics of the site. We'd have to make a judgment call in terms of how far is that proposal, like either existing or proposed. How far is that from where we are now or where we want to be? Like if it's the certain issues that you're just not going to, let's say I got 2 or 3 letters back of objection from stakeholders that this development or zoning bylaw amendment or whatever doesn't work, then I'm required to kind of evaluate that and say, what is the risk to the township of here, some kind of appeal measure being put in place. So it's planning is a balancing act, I would say that. And that's why it's important to do say within 12 months of the official plan, new one come into effect, the zoning bylaw, the new amended zoning bylaw would be. So that clock would start ticking.
I can too. When we did the housekeeping bylaw for the zoning, that was consistent with our existing official plan. And we made sure that it was consistent with the new PPS and it's still in line with our new official plan. If the province changes, the changes that we made are actually to be more in line with the development. It's to be more pro-development for what the province has already put in place, like Bill 123 or Bill 23. That allowed urban areas a right of 3 dwellings. So our housekeeping bylaw, it allowed the ADUs up to 3 in a rural area. So we were more consistent with the province. So we look at that as we go forward.
Yeah, just I guess what makes me ask was the letter from the minister with respect to the minor variances.
Right.
Yeah. So now we have to follow that letter.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so there's an order that's being put through, an amendment, and now as of right, you would be allowed to have, say, up to a 10% degree variance based upon whatever the issue is. So if it's whatever setback of 5 meters in the
Yeah,
bylaw,
or
whatever that
side
is,
yard or
4.5 meters would be as of right. Now, anything above that 10% would still therefore require a minor variance because it's not in keeping with that provision. Yeah. I mean, that will free up some applications, and 10% was that, but the test of a minor variance is still, there's 4 tests, sorry, to it, and so it's not, you can't just prescribe a number. You can have a number in your head about what may be acceptable, but really it comes down to, does it comprise good planning? That's the test at the end of the day.
I think you bring up a good example of, we are creatures of the province, and the province said that every municipality shall allow a 10% variance on their setbacks, to not have to go through a minor variance process. And that's our new rules that we follow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's what made me.
yeah,
Good
made me
questions.
question,
yeah, for sure.
And hopefully we can get more answers from that on the planning consultant as well when we do come to adopt that new
That's
RP.
another day then.
Yeah.
Save the question, a good question.
Yeah. So obviously, just going back to these activities, so long range planning wasn't just kind of like taking a first look at the new official plan, the zoning bylaw amendments that have come through, which we haven't gone and reviewed. I haven't read all of the zoning bylaw in the amendment in full detail myself because we're effectively on pause because we're waiting for the new official plan to be a review of that, if you like, to be given to us. So in the meantime, as mentioned, we have done a housekeeping bylaw. That was something, one of the first projects I worked on, and was adopted in April, May of this year, allowing for the additional dwelling units, both attached and detached, specific focus in the rural area. The hamlets can be okay as well, subject to some site-specific criteria. Also allowing provisions for shipping containers, hunt camps, travel trailers, and recreational vehicles, and short-term rentals. And just to emphasize that none of those were permitted uses prior to these bylaws coming into effect. So these are positive developments that have allowed potentially new development in the community. I've also been working on some economic development projects and attending various professional development and training opportunities. We won't go into those in detail, but you will have seen that we've launched the business retention and expansion initiative. So we're trying to interview as many businesses as possible within the community to get their feedback. And also we hosted 2 forums in the last 10 days as well. One was an agri-food forum and one was a developers forum. So we had some great conversations from that. And again, the feedback we received are going to infiltrate the plan, the revised plan when that comes to be. Earlier this year, council also adopted a new strategic plan. So I was working on that behind the scenes. And then, of course, preparing meetings such as this, the Planning Advisory Committee, the Corporate Services Committee, and attending council to provide updates on a wide range of planning matters. So in terms of some statistics, I'd estimate, sometimes, I have actual written correspondence, so I can fully validate the number of inquiries that I have provided advice on. And then there's others where it's the phone rings, I check the system, I answer somebody on the spot. But based upon all of my activities, I estimate that there's at least 200 inquiries on official plan and zoning bylaw matters, and over 25 on general planning matters. We had 1 plan, in terms of plan applications, we had 1 plan of subdivision applications. We know about 18 lots in the hamlet of Rutherglen, which was draft plan approval was granted for that in October. We had another 5 applications that were deemed complete. These were consent applications. Others are in progress. 1 was withdrawn. The property owner actually sold that property, so that's why that was withdrawn. We had a zoning bylaw amendment, a minor variance, a deeming bylaw, and a cancellation certificate. And for some of these, because they were new provisions, we didn't actually have a process in place at the township. So we had to design the application form, the procedure, and everything from scratch, which was a good way to learn, really. And so in terms of land purchase applications, I estimate about 4. And then in terms of working with my colleague, the chief building official, I say about 100 reviews of building permit files. That's just giving that nod or or not in terms of setbacks and compliance.
Mo,
Yeah,
the cancellation certificates. I've never done one of those.
Right.
And so that is a cancellation of a severance
that's right.
and so it just falls back to its regular
Yeah.
property description.
Uh,
And you've registered that on title?
yes, I believe so. That's so that's how we've worked with the lawyer did it on our behalf. So that's roughly the process.
So does it come to the planning advisory board to for the approval of the cancellation? Or who determines that severance is cancelled?
That's a good question. I mean, when we talk about cutting red tape, I mean, if we wanted to bring more matters like that to the advisory committee, that's a matter for council and decide. I would suggest in terms of determining the bylaw or
And
which dictates this committee. So,
what would be the reason you would cancel it?
In this particular instance, I can't say too much because obviously it was a private matter, but the individual, I guess, is looking just to reconfigure his estate. Let's just put it that way.
Changed their mind, made their house too big.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so in terms of consent applications, in 2025, the Township of Bonfield now recorded the greatest number of new lots for what we estimate is up to 3 decades, being 23 new lots. So we're very pleased about that. And with some of these new lots have been created as well, because we have the new policy in place for additional dwelling units. There's potential to not only have an attached dwelling unit, so let's say a granny suite, basement suite, and a detached additional dwelling unit. So it could be a separate coach house type setup or a standalone building essentially within the same lot. But that would never be severed. It would always be as part of one legal entity. Then in terms of the official planning and zoning bylaw review, just going to read through this quickly. Yeah, I hadn't highlighted this far in the document, but essentially where we are at now as a township is we did submit our plan. The plan is required to be reviewed every 10 years. It was submitted in July 2024. But then in November 2024, the provincial government launched what is now known as the provincial planning statement, which supersedes the provincial policy statement. And we are required to ensure that the official plan is consistent with the policy objectives contained within that. And that's why our plan is currently under review with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. It has been for the last 17 months. So we're waiting for that feedback. We've made various attempts through our consultants and ourselves, I believe, to receive that feedback. And we're hopeful that something will come in the near future so we can move that forward.
And I believe council's requested a delegation with the minister at Roma coming up for that purpose. So council members will be advocating with the minister to see if we can get that moved along. So
very good.
I don't know, you haven't come down yet to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing conferences. We used to attend those, the planning advisory board would attend them.
Oh.
I see there's municipal staff. You don't see the need, and I would say this to the chair, you don't see the need that our planning advisory board committee should be updated?
absolutely open to that conversation for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of that ministry, so my colleague in the chief building official and I, we did attend a 2-day event in Sudbury. That was in November, and there was some updates. There was some stuff that actually confirmed that we were on the right track. Our short-term rentals policy apparently is exactly what it needs to do in order to be robust enough to be pro-development, but still to respect the rights of adjoining property owners. And so we also received feedback there from the ministry to say, they don't know yet whether this provincial government is going to have yet more amendments to the Planning Act or more attempts to streamline planning decision making. So they're a little bit hamstrung too, I would suggest. But in terms of PPS 2024, so that's the provincial planning statement, it does offer some insights as to what we might focus on in terms of this new plan. Obviously, building homes, sustaining strong and competitive communities. Rural settlement areas is also a consideration. We have the two hamlets of Bonfield and Willow Glen. So the idea is that they would be the center for growth, infill, intensification, also infrastructure and facilities, the wise use and management of resources, as natural heritage, water management, and also agricultural systems, which was the whole point of the forum that we did, was to understand which farmers are operating in the community, what are their long-term plans, and how does that influence land use moving forward. We also, there's protecting public health and safety, as mentioned. We know that some of the townships or lakes are deemed to be at capacity, so can we do some proactive measures there to really improve the water quality so we can actually have more development longer term. So yeah, we'd had the forums. The forums, I believe, were a success. We had some great feedback. There was lots of information presented from a whole range of regional partners, non-profits. There was ministry representatives there. And it left us with 4 questions, I guess, that I've summarized in the report, but it's about how do we create a balance? And effectively, that's what planning is. It's how do you reconcile all the different perspectives into one and get the best outcome. And so the final question based on the report is how can we further streamline our operations and enhance service delivery? It's a big question. I won't try to answer that now, but yeah, there's always ways that we can improve the efficiency of what we do, and we try to streamline internally. We try to use different tools and apps and provide more information on the website so people feel more empowered and enabled with the information that they have to their hands. And you just mentioned previously about the minor variances, you know, some of these applications that are not necessary for us to get really into the depth with can maybe, you know, that will satisfy that requirement too. So really, yeah, this report is just, I feel it's a positive one just to end the year on, just to kind of say thank you again to our committee for being part of this and for reading all the materials and providing your input. And with that, I'll pass it back to the chair.
Well, thank you very much. I think you've done an update 1, 2, and 3 all together there. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments for staff or me?
I was just wondering, I think I had put that question to yourself, Chair. At what point, like, can planning committee start even to look at the draft OP that I understand is back from the consultant, just so that it's not, I know it's not approved yet.
Zoning bylaw or OP?
OP. I mean.
Zoning bylaw.
Zoning, sorry.
That's okay.
It's not approved, but it takes a lot of work. As we know, a lot of meetings, and I think we all realize could be subject to change. Is there at some point that we could do it before the OP is passed, just so that it's not so rushed, even though we know there could be different there could be differences if the MMAH comes back with amendments to our OP.
I'm hoping to be able to provide a more fulsome answer to that post the Roma conference. If we get any indication from the minister that an approval or some level of coming back from the ministry is imminent or forthcoming, that's great. What we have been seeing across the provinces, this has been taking so long to get official plans coming back out of the ministry. That if it stays on pace, it actually won't even need this term of council, which means that it'll be a different planning advisory committee and different council to deal with aligning the zoning bylaws with the plan. So if perhaps I think your worship are going down to make a delegation to the minister, if we get an indication that indeed, you know, it's going to happen in the near future, then fair enough. We can start talking about timing to bring it back. What I can absolutely assure the committee is, if it happens within this term of council, and I am still the chair, and
Did they say
there will
why
be.
it's so long?
We're creatures of the province, they just get to do what they like, and it's, yeah.
They keep changing the rules.
Yeah, and I think the problem, part of the, not the problem, and I'll give them. I'll give them some leniency or some grace. To say they are so busy at the ministry trying to figure out how they want to change the provincial policy statement and be able to do what direction they want to set to municipalities. It is probably very much slowing down official plans because it would be fruitless to send them back our official plan and say, yeah, you're good to go. And then in 4 months from now, the ministry is going to say, except we've made all of these different changes and now our official plan does not comply. I'm surmising that is what is happening in the background, having spent a little bit of time in that world on the provincial side. I think that's probably what's happening. So it leaves us as a committee, and I'm not really, you're not wrong. There will be lots of meetings, and it will take lots of meetings to review that. I don't want to add another layer of meetings that could end up being very fruitless when, in fact, we have 11 months left of this term, and we actually go into lame duck in August. So, yeah, I mean, timing wise, I would just, I'm not in favor of asking this committee to do all that heavy lifting too early.
I've never known it to take that long. And the cost to the municipality, number one, and if they have no intention of looking at it until this term of council is gone, is hardly fair to our township. But nobody's listening to me at all.
But I will say that I agree with you. Bring a copy of this down to the minister when you're gonna have your delegation with him.
I'll say from my own perspective, not the township of Bonfield, there's all of the changes that have been made. I'm sure there was well intentions behind it, but there's all my peers are confused. There's so many changes that are taken, backtracking and stepping forward. That it's there needs to be a bedding in period for people to fully understand what these changes mean.
Definitely in a state of flux from our friends in the provincial government, sure. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but I was just kind of wondering, to be brief, because our municipal staff are still going forward as if it's happening, so I was just wondering, you know, if it could be overviewed or shared or something.
I think the appropriate process is to allow staff to do staff work, which is appropriate, and then the committee will step in and it'll be brought before there's decisions made, before there's any sort of fait accompli. This committee will have significant time, an appropriate time to review it, to make recommendations, to have lots of conversations at this committee, and then make a recommendation to council on any. Maybe it's going to be perfect. Maybe we're happy with it. Maybe there'll be amendments that this committee would recommend to, and that is the process that typically happens on every single, not just this. That is how municipal life works, right? So it's we have to allow the staff to do their work, which is working with their colleagues, working with the province, making sure that they're not going to send us a jumbled mess and then have to retract and making the process as less messy as possible. I appreciate your attention to detail, and I know that you have a strength. I know that for sure, and your strength is very much, and I can tell you've had a career in doing this, to review and fine-tooth comb, and you're very, very good at it. But however, I mean, that role at this point is sitting with our staff. So.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering, because we were so involved with the draft OP and doing it together with the municipal staff, so it just seems to be different with the zoning bylaw.
No, it'll be the exact same process. So we got a first draft of an OP sent to us. We didn't sit down with a pen and a blank piece of paper.
We started
very
basic, didn't we?
We started
very basic.
Yeah.
We started at the very beginning, didn't we?
I wasn't here at the
Yeah,
beginning.
It was when
I know I came in after after the final draft had
Yeah.
come in,
Right.
and then we went through with. the
Yeah.
draft.
So we were at the very beginning
For sure.
with the OP, like, they.
I would just say again, if we get an indication that we're in the final, the province is in the final stages, or there's some level of an indication that the minister will give the mayor. Then for sure, I don't want to rush this on our side. I don't want to like, yeah, that is by no means an intent. I just don't want to spin our wheels.
Okay, I was just
Yeah.
wondering why it wasn't the same process.
And there could be potential issues if we rushed it anyway, because let's say our consultants identified an incorrect property based on advice that had previously been given, and that becomes on public record, and somebody say, hey, but in the draft you identified our property as being this, this, this. I'm like, no, we didn't. Like, you know, Nikki or I haven't had a chance to have our oversight of that, as
Yeah.
well as
Yeah.
take into account what's been said previously. So that would be, I would say that could be a risk to the township.
Well, we did it though under the official plan, same
Yeah.
sort of thing.
And when we started, to be fair, when we started the official plan, it was the regular old 10-year cycle of official plan. Like it was, you know, we were kind of the masters of our own domain. We knew the world that we were dealing with. And let's make sure that the official plan, any tweaks to our existing, unfortunately, no, I can't say unfortunately, the reality is the landscape is shifting at the moment through the province. And so it's throwing everything on its ear. And so the difference between what was our very simple beginning of an official plan review has now actually in and of itself been thrown on its ear as we wait for provincial policy statements. So and again, creatures of the province, so we do what we're told.
Did you previously work on a new zoning bylaw in your past, or do you recall?
We did with the, were you on the fish? No,
wasn't on.
before you came,
Yeah.
the first time, and then Eric came.
First one.
This is your first one?
Yeah, your first official plan. Yeah, I worked on every official plan from 2000, I think, and but it never took this long. Never took this long, and then we worked on the bylaws to go along with the official plan, and
Like
it
from the
seemed like it
beginning?
was done. And this one, we're waiting on the official plan, waiting on the
Mhm.
official plan, and changes are being made with the province that you sit there and wonder, how can we catch up? We set our official plan in to be approved.
Mhm,
At least if we could get it back, then we could make the changes they.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we
Yeah.
want to move forward.
Undertake that, you know, council has, and it is squarely within our mandate to make recommendations to council on official plans, which we have done. I have a sneaking suspicion we're gonna actually be reviewing an official plan if it happens within this term. We're gonna be going through the official plan again, because of the work that if there's material changes that come from the province and council wishes for this committee to review again.
It's 10 years, right?
Yeah, I think it might be.
I
Yes.
think at one time it was 5 years.
Yeah, could you imagine having to do this every 5 years?
Well,
Yeah.
I believe it's 10 for like a comprehensive review, and then every 5 years you do like an interim type review.
Just to catch up to all the inconsistencies because the province changes.
And we're almost at year 2
Mhm.
since we've finished the OP, and we are still waiting.
Mhm.
Not finished the OP, but since we've sent it for feedback to the ministry, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, the process is long, apparently.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? I have a motion, and I'll read the motion, then I'll approve it in a second, so that we're on what we're talking about, that the planning budget committee accepts this annual report as an end of year review and refers the report to the members of council for further consideration. I'll move it in a second here, Paquette. Foisey. So I'll read it one more time, moved by Mayor Paquette, seconded by Member Foisey, that the Planning Advisory Committee accepts this annual report as an end-of-year review and refers the report to members of council for their consideration. All in favor? That's carried. I don't believe we have any correspondence to consider this evening.
No. Oh, sorry, that's for me.
Yeah.
No correspondence.
Thank you. I will move for an adjournment. So we'll move in a seconder.
So
Wanna go through?
this.
Oh, there did I mess? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, sorry. I was just going through my motions here. Thank you very much for that. So application reference B8 2025, draft plan subdivision 18 new lots. And application reference ZC1 2025 proposed zoning bylaw amendment in association with the application reference B8 2025.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, we'll just spend a few minutes. I mean, it's kind of been moved on to council now, but in terms of the zoning bylaw amendment application, that was quite straightforward. It was to reduce the minimum lot frontage from what we typically have of 60 meters down to 30 meters. And that's because where there's a cul-de-sac, as it goes around, you get this pinch point, and that's why that was reduced, essentially. That was the main purpose of that. In terms of the draft plan of subdivision, we had a discussion at council, at the planning advisory committee, and we negotiated, we discussed with the developer the conditions, the standard best practices, not just in this area, but across Ontario, because we're bound by the same rules, and came to an agreement, you could say, in principle about what those draft conditions should be, and then council proceeded to adopt them. So they were included as part of this agenda package as well. In terms of the specifics of them, we don't need to go through each one, but essentially there are requirements for a development of this size. So where we're at now really is in terms of talking about the pre-servicing agreement and some of the the more drainage, the construction, engineering type works, road construction, and just making sure that they're up to the standards, which I'm sure they will be, as we all expect.
I live out there. Have they started? I haven't seen any.
No, I haven't been out there myself yet, so
No, nothing.
We had a meeting with them with representatives last week,
yes.
just to go over some of the road configuration so that they can start in the spring.
Any other questions or comments from that report? Seeing none, okay. I understand there's no correspondence. Back to the adjournment.
Yeah.
I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Boise, seconded by
There, Jenny, you got the close it.
Councilor Langlois. That this meeting be adjourned at 7:24. Yeah, all in favor? That is carried. Good night, everyone.